continue to put up a fight, while the top spot in the AAC is still within sight.
Meanwhile, on the men's side, they just keep coming up just short of snapping their losing streak.
And I'm Kylie O'Connor, live at the Liacouras Center. Later on in the show, I'll take a look at just how white these stands were for last week's whiteout game versus Memphis.
I'm Sam Covone, live from the studio set. Coming up, I'll be taking a look at the men's and women's upcoming matchups and scouting out how they might be able to walk away with a W or two. Courts in Session is live and it starts right now.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Courts in Session. I'm Hayden Bandel, he's Jake Gabel, and we've got you covered for this very special Valentine's Day episode.
There's a lot to love on the women's side as the Owls have their eyes on the top of the leaderboard. Meanwhile, the men would love to have a win to brag about right now. But ladies first in this week's show. Coming off of a tough double overtime loss on the road in Charlotte, the Owls came back to Liacouras Center on Saturday to take on last year's American Athletic Conference regular season champion, the South Florida Bulls. Tiara East hit a game winner in her last time in this arena, and she starts off these highlights taking it coast to coast for the layup. South Florida's turn now. Romy Levy, you'll hear this name a lot during these highlights, closes out a very low-scoring first quarter. Bulls lead 10-6. Second quarter now, Inez Piper putting on the moves for the score and gives Temple the lead back. The Owls held the Bulls scoreless for just under 10 minutes. South Florida gets hot after the cold spell, and she's back. Levy hits the three in the third quarter to cut Temple's lead to just one. On to the fourth quarter. Aaliyah Nelson, haven't heard her name yet, hits the jumper for just her second field goal of the game. Levy starts off the good ball movement, leading to an Aveline Lutcha-Shippo three-pointer. Owls trailing by two. Terriana Gary has all of her 8 points in the fourth quarter, including this three to give Temple the lead. Next possession. Shots no good, but Levy comes in again for the offensive rebound and scores. Levy missed the free throw, though, so the game is tied. The Owls take the lead as Gary takes this pass, finding Nelson for the game-sealing layup. Temple wins it 59-55.
East led the Owls with her fourth 20-point effort of the season, scoring 14 of them in the first half. Rain Tucker contributed with 9 and 6, and Aaliyah Nelson had 7 points to go along with 6 rebounds. This game was won, though, by the Owls on defense, holding South Florida to 30% shooting from the field. The Owls have won 3 of their last 4, and they now sit just 1 game from the top spot in the AAC, where the top 4 teams will get a first-round bye.
Joining us now is our very own Sam Covone at the desk to discuss the women's latest win. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Sam, the women have been in a ton of close games over the past few weeks. What have you seen from them towards the end of the stretches in these games?
So I've definitely seen that they are good under pressure. There's no way they would have been able to win if they weren't. And I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say this, but that equal opportunity makes this possible. When the girls aren't getting their reps in on the court and they're not getting their shots, that means they're not going to be confident in taking these shots. When they're confident, they make them, and that's how they get these close game wins.
Talking about close games and confidence with shots, I'm going to talk about shots as well, but specifically the ones that come from the charity stripe. Temple was 11 for 17 on free throws in the Charlotte game. That doesn't sound like that bad of a mark, 6 missed free throws, but the key thing here is that 4 of them came in the fourth quarter. In just a 4-point win, those misses could have been crucial. Luckily for the Owls, it didn't hurt them.
Yeah, you guys both talked about shooting. I want to talk about playmaking and passing. And we've seen it a lot from Aaliyah Nelson this year. 2.1 assists to turnovers. That's the best in the American Athletic Conference. And although she hasn't been scoring the rock as often this season, she has been just making up for it by her playmaking. She's averaging the least points that she has under her 4 years in college basketball under Diane Richardson, but she is playmaking like a beast.
Yeah, and while the women are riding the highs of a win, the men are still struggling. They're now on a 9-game losing streak. We'll show you just how close the Owls came to a win when Courts in Session returns. Don't go anywhere.
The men have hit a rough patch, to say the least, but they had an opportunity to snap an 8-game losing streak on Super Bowl Sunday when the 49ers came to town. And no, it's not those 49ers from Cali, it's the 49ers from North Carolina. Charlotte coming off of its first loss in over a month. Here's how we're going to get started. Lakey Patterson, show me your distance to open up the scoring from downtown. Then how about this pass from Jordan Riley? Matteo Piccarelli, it's your turn from beyond the arc. Great ball movement being displayed by the Niners. Nearly all 5 of them on the floor touched this ball in the possession. Patterson, again, why not? He scored or assisted on Charlotte's first 4 baskets of the game. Nick Graves driving in and a tough finish over Quante Berry. Final seconds of the half, 3-second difference, shot clock to game clock, and it's Miller connecting on the step-back tray. The junior led the Owls in scoring with 14. But there's still time for Patterson, who's going to bank in the half-court buzzer beater, his 3rd 3 of the half. Now it's Milicic who joins in on the 3-point party to put Deppel down 4. Pick and roll action from Piccarelli and Hoffman trims the lead down to 1 in the second half. Then Dean Raymer going to take a 3-point attempt. Yoink, way off the mark. Steve Settle gets the outlet pass, and he's going to throw it down with the one-handed slam to tie things up. Temple down 3 at the end. Piccarelli trying to be the hero, and it's off the mark. Hoffman can end up with a loose ball, and that's how things come to a close. Temple falls to Charlotte 73-70.
If you're doing the math at home, that's 9 straight losses. 8 Owls scored at least 4 points, but Miller and Berry were the only ones to hit double digits. Those 13 for Berry are a career high. Temple's Jordan Riley snapped a 6-game streak of scoring 10 or more points. Riley only had 4 in this one, which is tied for his lowest mark on the season. Patterson's 22 led the way for South Florida. Patterson hit 3 threes as the Bulls shot 42% beyond the arc. After the loss, Coach Fisher and Berry talked about keeping faith and defense.
It speaks for itself, 73-70 with the ball down 3 with the possession. If we didn't believe, this thing would have been 96-25, right? Like, they believe. They got to keep battling, and each night it's somebody different. And we got to keep hitting the stone. We talked about the stone cutter. We got to keep hitting it. At some point, it's going to crack, and we need to keep playing hard to put ourselves in these positions.
I mean, from what I've learned playing basketball, you know, it's not always going to be an offensive night, but you control if it's going to be a defensive night. So every game, I just try to look for the defense, and if the shots fall, then they fall. If they don't, I'm just going to play defense.
The game prior to South Florida, it was the annual whiteout at the Liacouras Center as Penny Hardaway and the Memphis Tigers came into town. Early on, Jaleel White gets fouled and one to get the place roaring. Sam Hoffman misses the 3. He finished with a donut in the points department. Memphis in transition gets the easy dunk to go. Later in the first half, the Memphis lead growing. Remember me? It's Nick Jourdain, the former Temple Owl, with the slam against his former team. Tigers led as much as 23 points in the first half. Second half now, Zion Stanford spinning and laying it in to cut the lead to 10. Memphis with the ball, Malcolm Dandridge in the post. He's going to hit us with the no-look pass for another Jourdain slam. The Tigers' pass is stolen on this possession, and Stanford drives coast to coast and gets slapped on the arm and finishes to inject some life back into the Liacouras Center. David Jones, the 5th best scorer in the country, hits the 3 to stop the Temple 15-0 run. Owls down 6, Rymir Miller going to take the step-back 3 and gets it to fall, but the first half deficit was too much to overcome as Temple falls to Memphis, 84-77. Not often do you outscore the opponent by 11 in the second half and lose. That's what happened to Temple, though. White led the Owls with 20 points in the loss. Shane Dezzoni had a career-high 15 points and 10 rebounds. Stanford put up 12 points, the most he's had in a game in 2 months. Miller and Jordan Riley also had 15 and 12 points respectively, making it 5 Owls with 12 points or more. Those 5 Owls combined for all of Temple's points, but just 5, however. Nick Jourdain had 10 points in his return to North Philadelphia.
Temple has now lost 9 straight, and if you can't tell, it's pretty historic. The longest losing streak for the Owls since the 1975-76 season, when the Owls lost 11 straight. It leaves the Cherry and White with a 1-10 record in conference play, the worst start through the first 11 conference games in a decade. Over this stretch, many have been close, but this might feel only super lining. 2 of those games were lost by 3 points, and 2 were losses in overtime. This Thursday, the men had their annual whiteout game, and this year felt a bit different from last year in terms of attendance numbers and a special reunion.
Courts and Sessions' Kylie O'Connor is live at the Liacouras Center, bracing the snow, which is a lot more empty than it was for the whiteout game. Hey, Kylie.
Thanks, guys. The first whiteout game of the year took place here at the Liacouras Center last Thursday. The atmosphere was definitely a little bit different, even though the end result was the same. It wasn't just one of those early February games. Last Thursday's game against Memphis had many storylines, which was easily visible outside the Liacouras Center. Thursday was a whiteout game, and the Tigers also brought with them former Owl Nick Jourdain for his first game in Philly since leaving the Owls last May.
That whole team, all my teams here, we're all brothers, hung out with each other like family on and off the court. So, yeah, happy to be back. I definitely wanted to leave my mark here, and I wanted to show how much better I got since, last time I was here. So
the whiteout game brought in big names. Memphis alum and Eagles kicker Jake Elliott was also in town. Along with Elliott, there was support from Temple's other teams and big-name players.
They're like my genuine friends, most of the guys on the team, so anytime we can support when we're not away, when we don't have a game.
This night was full of excitement. 5,000 free whiteout t-shirts, a $10,000 half-court shot, and a clear drawstring bag giveaway, along with an amped-up crowd that came out showing its support the whole time.
Oh, it's electric. Lots of people in here. It's a whiteout game, so it's exciting. We're yelling and screaming.
Temple came into this game ranked 9th out of 14th in the American in fan attendance at 3,250. This whiteout game will definitely increase the season's average. In fact, Thursday's game brought in 4,888 fans, which is the highest home attendance this season. Last year, the men's whiteout game was a memorable one when they played ranked 3 Houston with a fan attendance of 7,484. Also at that time, Temple was an above 500 team while being 6-2 in conference play. Sam, it's back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kylie. The player that I am about to highlight did not play in the whiteout game due to a shoulder injury he had suffered against ECU, but he made himself known against Charlotte. Quante Berry played 26 minutes against the 49ers, a career high in his time at Temple. Along with his 26 minutes, Berry also recorded 13 points and 4 assists, another new set of highs at Temple. This included one from behind the arc. Berry was the second on the team in points, right behind Rymir Miller. Along with these new highs, he was 2 for 2 from the free throw line. When you look at the stats, Quante Berry deserves this spotlight. This game against Charlotte was a huge improvement from the January 16th game against SMU when Berry played 18 minutes and did not score any points. This game was his best so far this season. Who knows, if Berry continues to play like this, he may end up in one of your play breakdowns. Jake and Hayden, back to you.
Thanks, Sam. It is indeed time for our play breakdown segment.
Jake and I picked plays that happen at the same exact spot on the Liacouras Center hardwood, and we'll start with mine. So you can roll it right here. Javon Quinley taking the ball up for Memphis, gives it to Nick Jourdain, that very familiar name. Jourdain can give it right back instead of pick and roll. So we see Temple's in man-to-man zone. Zion Stanford's guarding Jourdain. Heisir Miller is guarding Javon Quinley. And there's just no communication between the two. And it's going to leave Nick Jourdain wide open as we play it again. Jourdain just going to throw it down with two hands and too easy. And part of that miscommunication with Zion Stanford is just some of the growing pains that he's going through as a true freshman as we see it again. Just a pick and roll way too easy. Nick Jourdain said he wanted to leave his mark on his old stomping grounds. He sure did.
Stop my play right here. Let me set the scene. 55 all, under a minute to go. Temple is inbounding under the basket. You can play it again. Aaliyah Nelson is our inbounder. She gets it into Tiara East, but she's not going to be the focus of this play. It's going to be Inez Piper. Tiara East brings it over, and stop it right here. Piper, you can see her start that cut. Her defender's just a little bit off of her. It's not much, but in a game of inches, every single step counts. You can play it again. Nelson's going to find her on the great cut, and she makes the layup and the foul to give Temple the lead. We'll watch it one more time. Focus in on Piper more this time. She cuts all the way down to the baseline, isn't even involved on this side of the court as of yet. A great play design brings her over and cutting in for the layup to give Temple that lead. Now that does it for our play breakdown. Coming up, we go from the breakdown to the fast break.
When we come back, we'll be joined by Rymir Vaughn, who's on the beat for Temple with the Philadelphia Inquirer and OwlScoop. Stick around. Welcome back. Philadelphia Inquirer and OwlScoop writer Rymir Vaughn joins the show.
3 fast-paced questions and some answers as well. It's time for fast break. Question 1. What is the impact of Jaleel White being in and out of the lineup due to injury?
Well, Jaleel White is one of the team's best rebounders. I would say he is the team's best rebounder. He's third on the team in total rebounding percentage, and he leads the team in rebounding. When he's on the floor, he makes an impact on the glass. I would also say that he gives the team another option on offense, whether it's scoring or ball handling to spell, guys like Hassan and guys like Jordan Riley. I believe he's second on the team in usage percentage, and he's second on the team in scoring. So he gives them another option when it comes to the offensive game.
I think Jaleel White being in and out of the lineup hurts Temple's continuity. This is a guy last 2 years on North Broad. He only missed a combined 3 games. This year he's already missed a third of the season. Him being in and out, I think, just hurts them just in terms of their continuity. Now, another thing with continuity is the shot discrepancy from Matteo Piccarelli from game to game. What have you guys seen?
Well, I just think that he hasn't been getting the consistent minutes, like you've been talking about, Hayden, the continuity, the consistent minutes to get enough shots off in some games. I mean, he's been hunted on defenses a lot of times. They go after him, the opposing team, a lot, and it leads to him not playing in key moments down the stretches and maybe just getting subbed in for a three-pointer for a possession and then getting taken right back out.
Matteo Piccarelli is the team's best three-point shooter. He's the most consistent three-point shooter. He leads the team in three-point percentage. So teams key in on that. Adam Fisher isn't just going to, spam three-point plays for Matteo Piccarelli all game. And, teams tend to switch on to him more often than they do other players because he's so good at shooting the ball. He's more so a decoy and plays more than, an actual focal point unless they actually need a bucket.
All right, last question, guys. Moving to the women's team, they have fouled more than the opposing team in 17 of their 23 games. Do they need to be less aggressive?
Jake, on our last show, you said Temple doesn't have to go away from their equal opportunity offense. I don't think they have to go away from being aggressive on defense. That is their bread and butter. That is what their identity is made up on. They're going to win by being aggressive on defense, and they're going to lose by being aggressive on defense. That's just how this team is made, and that's how the roster is constructed.
I completely agree, Hayden. This team's identity is being aggressive on defense. They've gained the reputation of being aggressive on defense and pushing out the ball in fast break because they're not very good in the half-court generating offense.
Well, that does it for this week's game of Fast Break. Rymir, thanks for joining us.
When we come back, yes, more Sam Covone as she will fill us in on everything going on around the AAC.
Welcome back to Courts in Session. It's time for our colleague Sam Covone to scout out the opponents.
Sam joins us live from the studio set to fill us in on all things going on around the American Athletic Conference. Hey, Sam.
Thanks, guys. It is once again time to scout out the teams that the men and women will face in the upcoming week, and also assess how Temple could potentially get the victory in these games that will take place on the road. On Wednesday, the women's team faces the UAB Blazers. The Blazers are 17-7 overall and 8-4 in conference, which is half a game ahead of Temple. The Owls need this one. UAB is averaging 72 points per game, which is second in the league, and they do most of their damage from beyond the arc. At 36%, they're tops in the entire AAC. For Temple to win this game, it might come down to one of those high-scoring affairs, because the UAB defense is near the bottom of the conference. The Owls are very strong in forcing turnovers, turning those turnovers into points against the Blazers. Suspect defense could be the difference. Switching gears, on Thursday, the men face the Florida Atlantic Owls. These Southern Owls are 19-5 overall and 9-2 in conference. They're also nationally ranked number 24. When it comes to FAU's offense, this team knows how to get points on the board. They average 82 points per game and make 72% of their free throws. While Temple also makes 72% of their free throws, this team is averaging 9 fewer points a game. FAU's defense is about average, allowing 72 points per game and only stealing the ball about 8 times, which is the same amount as the Temple team. Once again, Temple's biggest challenge in this game will be playing on the road. The last time Temple won on the road was at Drexel on November 14th. With the men looking to break their 9-game losing streak and the women looking to add to their series of nail-biter wins, it is sure looking up to be an exciting week. That's all I have for this show. Jake and Hayden, back to you on the desk.
Looking for date night plans for Valentine's Day? I sure know Hayden Bandel is. How about snuggling on the couch to watch Diane Richardson and the Owls take on UAB on ESPN+. Very romantic if you ask me. The very next day, the men take on 24th ranked FAU in the Battle of the Owls, as Sam just mentioned. Remember, those Owls were in the Final Four. The game will be on ESPN2. Then the men host UTSA this Sunday at 2 p.m. Finally, the women have a Monday night game on the 19th against the Tulane Green Wave.
And we've got some lovely shows coming up for you guys this week. Our flagship show will be on Thursday with Patty Heckert and Natalie Caranda. On Monday, our sports brief on X will get you covered on all things from the weekend. Jake, myself, and the rest of the Courts in Session crew will be back right here on Tuesday at noon. Now, before we go, Jake, I got you a Valentine's Day gift, so why don't you go ahead and take it? I think they look good on you.
I feel bad that I dunked on you in that other read. I wouldn't have done that if I knew I was getting this lovely glasses. Ooh, I love this.
You didn't miss the dunk like Steve Settle did, at least.
Yeah, or Shane Dezzoni.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you, Hayden.
Do I get a gift as well? Or?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, I don't get a gift, and unfortunately, that is going to wrap up yet another episode of Courts in Session. And boy, we are just flying by, Jake. 1 month away, even less until the conference tournament in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah, it sure is coming up, but for our show producers, Jacob Smedley and Sam Massad, he's Hayden Bandel, I'm Jake Gabel, and have a very happy Valentine's Day.